And good evening. This is Satan's Trilogy, Chapter 4. I am the narrator and the author. This will be reading 22. Hi John, thanks for coming so quickly. I really need to get back to my Aunt Brandy as soon as possible. Your man inside with 3 others, they're all dead. Couldn't be helped. They were holding this young girl and her mother captive. Esther had given John a hug before explaining what he could expect. Looking at his face, Esther asked, John, why are you wearing sunglasses? You don't like glasses of any type. I remember you telling me that years ago. Damn, I wish I had your memory. John seemed pleased to see Esther, and after glancing at the surroundings and listening to Esther's details on the prior events, he looked at Esther and removed his glasses. Esther was surprised. John had 2 black eyes, which made him look a bit ridiculous. John, what happened? Esther was trying not to laugh at his humorous face, which made him look a bit like a raccoon. 2 days ago, we arrested a most wanted on the South End, and he resisted, John explained. John, you do carry a gun, said Esther. I needed him alive for interrogation. John put his sunglasses back on. Esther, if I had your fighting skills, I wouldn't have ended up looking like this. This guy was very big, and he really didn't want to be handcuffed, John said with a bit of disgust. Esther was very sympathetic to John's ordeal, and yet she had an agenda and so quickly changed the subject. John, my Aunt Brandy is waiting for me. You know how to contact me. I need to leave, but I need a favor first. Esther smiled at him. Esther, I don't have a good feeling about this. What do you need? Asked John. Well, John, a small group of neighborhood boys, 3 actually, helped me stop these people, so I gave them the car. Esther looked at John and waited for a response. Esther, I am assuming you cleaned the car before you allowed them to drive off in it, John asked. Of course, John. The duffel bag on the porch is holding everything that was in the car. Ammo, guns, money, along with a lot of papers. Esther smiled at John. Looking at the large duffel bag, John seemed a bit more pleased and relaxed. So what do you need? Asked John. One of your team is a notary. I need him to notarize the car title for me. That's all. Esther smiled at John as if the world had no problems. Looking through his sunglasses at Esther, but just for a moment, John called over an agent. Brad, please take this car title and photograph it, then notarize it for me. Esther jumped on John with her arms around him, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and thanked him. Esther had found the title in the glove compartment, and so after forging the owner's signature and having the title notarized, Esther was ready to go. Grabbing her backpack from the top of the porch, Esther looked at Bushra and her mother. A female agent was consoling them and gleaning information from them at the same time. It was obvious to Esther that they were now safe, and so she climbed onto her ninja. Glancing at John, who was standing by the porch, Esther said to him, You know, Dad always said that he could count on you. I think he was telling me that I could too. Esther pulled her helmet on and took off on her ninja. In less than 6 minutes, Esther pulled up to the McDonald's. Through the restaurant windows, she immediately saw John and his crew sitting inside, having some sandwiches. Esther parked her motorcycle next to the Mercedes and walked inside. Turning towards the dining area, Esther walked over to John and his crew. They were all sitting in a booth. Esther pulled a chair up from a table and placed it at the end of their booth. Without a greeting of any type, Esther started to talk. My name is Esther Saint. This is the title to the car, and it's notarized. All you have to do is put someone's name on it and file it with the state. Esther looked about the table. Everyone was feeling good and appeared excited. "So what are your names?" Esther inquired. John spoke up. Going around the table, he gave everyone's name. "This is Mike, and this is Wes, my best friends." Everyone had a small hello or nod for Esther as John pointed them out. "And you know my name, John. It's John Campbell." Esther had looked about the table as each young man had his name given. She didn't see one angry face among them. "You guys might just be smart enough to listen to some good advice, and so I'm going to give it." Esther looked serious, and she lost her friendly smile. "I suggest you take the car to my cousin's motorcycle shop and trade it in for 3 really nice motorcycles. He'll give you helmets, jackets, and whatever else you think you need to ride a motorcycle. If you keep the car, most likely the insurance will be beyond your means. The first time a cop pulls you over, you will not only lose your license, but they will impound the car and you'll possibly end up losing it too. The Mercedes will get maybe 12 miles per gallon, and it will be impossible for 3 people to share it. Well, on the other hand, you could each have a decent motorcycle with affordable insurance and good gas mileage, and the cops will probably leave you alone. I like the Kawasaki Ninja 650. It is lightweight, agile, feels narrow, and goes anywhere, and you'll get about 50 miles to a gallon of fuel." Esther looked up from the table before anyone could comment. "There's somewhere I have to be. Here's my cousin's business card." Esther had grabbed several of Jan's business cards from the front desk as he was looking for her title. Esther pushed the card in front of them on the table. "Look, I like to drive a car, but there's nothing like a bike. I have to go. See you guys around. I'll tell my cousin he might be seeing you. He's a fair man and will treat you right." Esther walked away and was gone before anyone could comment or argue the idea. Esther was on her way to her new apartment and was excited to see it. 10, maybe 12 minutes, and she would be there. The weather was sunny, and as she pulled into her parking space, she noticed maybe 24 Chinese leaving the apartment complex, and at least a half-dozen trucks outside, which were now empty. As Esther walked towards the apartment entry, she saw Aunt Brandy and Cousin Bo Chen coming out the entrance. Brandy spotted Esther right away and ran to her. "Esther, your cousin Chen has worked a miracle. We are completely moved in, and he has a surprise for you." Brandy pulled on Esther, moving her towards the apartment and Cousin Chen. "Esther Saint, I believe that you will be very pleased with your new apartment," said Cousin Chen. "My family has moved all of your possessions into your new apartment, and there is plenty of room for your aunt and you to share. May I first introduce you to my family? They must all leave, but would like to meet you first." Bo Chen seemed very pleased with himself and excited to share his family with Esther. "Of course I would be honored." Esther turned towards the 24 Chinese. Most of them were at least in their 30s and older. When they learned Esther was the honorary niece of Mr. Hung, they all wanted to help. It took nearly 20 minutes to finish thanking each person and to have a short conversation in Chinese. Each seemed baffled by Esther's appearance, but all were convinced that Esther was indeed Chinese. As Esther bowed and shook hands with the last person, Bo Chen's youngest son, he appeared to be in his late 30s. Esther turned to Cousin Chen. "You have a wonderful family. I am very pleased to have met them all." Bo Chen smiled and said, "Thank you, Esther Saint. It was an honor for my family to meet you and to help you move. Please, let's take a look at your new home. I have a surprise for you." Esther, Brandy, and Bo Chen walked down the hallway and to their new apartment. Brandy opened the door, allowing Esther to walk inside first. Standing in the center of the room, Brandy said, "Esther, Look at the space left in the apartment after moving everything I own into these rooms. It's still very spacious. We may have to find some more furniture. Brandy sat down on a sofa against the wall and smiled at Esther. Bo Chen spoke. Esther, I noticed that you didn't have a bed. Having just arrived from China, I have taken the liberty in providing a bed that has been in my family many generations. Please take a look. Bo Chen led Esther to her new bedroom, and against the bedroom's wall was a Chinese Fujian bed. Esther had seen many of these before. Most were very old and of great value. The bed was ornate but not extravagant, with a carved relief on the headboard portraying the Chinese saint of war, Guan Yu. Most of the gilding had worn away, but the bed's rattan was in excellent condition and would be fine for sleeping. On each side of the bed was a table from the 18th century, most likely the Shanxi province of China. The three pieces complemented each other perfectly. Esther turned to Bo Chen. Cousin Chen, this is very wonderful. I know these items are priceless to you. I am very humbled that you have placed them in my care. Bo Chen seemed pleased and smiled. Esther, I know that you will be able to put this furniture to excellent use. My family has waited a long time for someone that could appreciate the value of our heritage, and I know that person is you. Please accept this gift with our blessing. Bo Chen looked Esther directly in the eyes, and it appeared that he was not only pleased to have given this gift to Esther, but also relieved that the bed and tables had finally found a home worthy of their use. Brandy had been standing close by and was excited to see that Esther was pleased with the gift. Moving her hand over the wood grain of the bed, Esther appeared to be speaking to it. Esther looked up at Cousin Chen and smiled. Brandy was unable to contain herself. Esther, I knew you would love it. These pieces of furniture are you, and this is so wonderful. Now you have a bed for tonight and some end tables to boot. Brandy was pleased that the apartment was coming together so quickly and without any problems. Esther Saint, Bo Chen spoke, I must leave now that you and your aunt are moved into your new home. Please call me if you have any questions or if I am able to help you in some way. Bo Chen bowed to Brandy and then Esther. Reaching for Bo Chen, Esther wrapped her arms round him and embraced him for a moment, and then stepping back in order to speak, Cousin Chen, you and your family have done much to make me feel at home, not only in this country, but with my new family. I shall not forget this. Esther bowed to Cousin Chen. Everyone again bowed to each other, and Bo Chen left feeling good, having accomplished so much in so little time, and for such a very special young cousin. Esther slowly closed the door as she watched Bo Chen walk down the hallway, then turned around to see Brandy staring at her with a very large smile on her face. They stared at each other for a moment, and then hugged each other and jumped up and down in excitement. The two girls were elated that in less than a day they were now living in an apartment more than twice the size of the other. Everything was bigger and better, and the cost would be only slightly more for Brandy since they could share the expenses. I need to sit. Brandy quickly walked over to her overstuffed cream-colored leather chair and sat in it. This chair fits. It crowded the other apartment, but it fits this corner of this room just perfectly. Brandy had pulled her feet up under her and was gazing about the large room. Esther, if the store still has the ottoman for this chair, I think I'll buy it. Don't you think an ottoman to put your feet upon would be nice? Esther sat on the sofa, positioned alongside the chair Brandy was in. Esther was enjoying listening to her aunt's enthusiasm about the apartment. Yes, it would fit perfectly in front of the chair, and there will be plenty of room around it, replied Esther. Esther, let's spend a couple of hours enjoying our new apartment before going back out to do some shopping. I want to take a good look at my bedroom and all the space in there before we shop again. What do you think? Brandy waited for a reply. And Brandy, I would love to have some time to become familiar with the kitchen. Let's give ourselves a couple of hours to take a look at our new home, said Esther. She was more than willing to relax and look about. Esther was anxious to study the kitchen and its possibilities. She knew that a complete kitchen would need more than a few pots and pans that Aunt Brandy had purchased over the years. Brandy went to her bedroom. Somehow the bed now looked smaller, even though it was a king-size mattress. The room was huge, and Brandy started thinking about how a chair or two could fit into the room. Brandy had always wanted a bedroom with a small desk off to the side. Perhaps she would buy a desk and position it off in the corner. All of this was considered within a few minutes, and then Brandy turned her attention to the closet. Opening the double door, Brandy was staring at a walk-in closet that dwarfed her wardrobe. The center island held 6 drawers that could be used for personals and or jewelry. Just about anything she chose would fit nicely in the drawers on the center island. The far wall had shelving for books, for shoes, and most likely it would take Brandy the next year or more to fill the shelving with additional footwear. Brandy would spend the remaining part of the 2 hours in this amazing room plotting its use. Esther went directly to the kitchen and stood at the entryway to a wonderful state-of-the-art kitchen with high-end appliances and a professionally designed floor plan. Esther had already decided that the china place settings she planned on buying would have to number 12 in total. And Brandy didn't have 3 place settings that matched. Esther realized that perhaps someday Aunt Brandy might want to entertain a male friend or perhaps several friends from work for dinner. The same would apply for Esther. She may entertain some friends, and 12 place settings seemed the right number. Of course, more people on some rare occasions could be handled, and if they mixed different patterns of place settings, well, that'd be okay. Esther was so excited about shopping for some china and flatware that she could hardly think of anything else. I think we'll stop there. That was reading 22. Hope you enjoyed it.